Jerry.
I'm going to give you a short version of my life. I was a spoiled rich kid. I went to private schools. One thing that was really good about that is I went to school with people from all over the world. You know, I went to school with sheikh sons and sons of kings from Africa. I mean, just all kinds of people. And when I was coming up, my father was a super businessman, and he taught me from the time I was 6 years old how to handle meetings and be around people with influence. And so I took all that, and when I was 17, I enlisted in the Navy, volunteered for Vietnam, went to special training, became an operative for special operations. Anybody ever see the movie Apocalypse Now? Movie about Vietnam, and that a guy goes around and he's looking for this colonel that's gone rogue and he's up in the bush and all that. Anybody ever see that movie? You ever see that movie? Apocalypse Now. Okay. Well, anyway, that's kind of that story is about what I did when I was in Vietnam. I did the same thing he did, only I wasn't an officer, I was a non-commissioned officer, which meant, you know, I had rank amongst the enlisted men, but, you know, real officers were over and above me. But doing that, I was working directly for a two-star admiral. Now, he was in charge of 50,000 men, and he took care of the northernmost county in South Vietnam, and I did hits for him, for the government, and worked directly with him. Through that, I was recruited by another branch of the federal government as a contract hitter. And I did that for 18 years. But at the same time I was doing that, I got involved in music. And I used that, they were using that as my cover story. So I could travel all over, and when I needed to go out of country, you know, I could do it and come back and still have a gig waiting for me. So it wasn't unusual. If I had to disappear for 2 or 3 weeks, you know, it was cool. When I came back from Vietnam, it was late 1968, and the first job I got, they hooked me up with a guy called Jim Morrison, and the Doors was his band. Jim Morrison and the Doors at that time were the biggest up-and-coming band in the rock and roll business. I worked with him for about 2.5 months. I couldn't stand the motherfucker, so I stopped working for him. But I was a bodyguard for him, and then when I was with him, I met Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, the Stones. I met the Beatles when I was 15 years old. And all of that led to, you know, I started out as a bodyguard and wound up as a road manager for Atlantic Records I wasn't an employee there. Again, I was a contractor if one of the groups was on the road and their road manager got sick or had an emergency and had to go home, they would send me to fill in for them. So that's how I met a lot of the people that I met in the music industry. The last gig I had, I worked with Robert Stigwood, who was the manager of a group called the Bee Gees, who was a super group. One of the groups that I was managing, we signed with RSO label, and through getting to know Stigwood and his people socially, I ended up where the Bee Gees had a problem on the road, something like that. They would send me down to take care of the problem, and to keep them on the road, keep working, keep happy. It's all about keeping things straight and keeping business going. After I got out of the music business, I took the money that I made and I invested, and I started my own insurance investigation business. Well, I had, in the end, I had 26 major insurance companies from around the world as clients. I had Lloyd's of London, I had Swiss Re, I had Fireman's Fund, Farmers, American Hardware Mutual, American States, Federal. I can go on and on with people that I work for. Now, doing that involved a lot of things, but one of the biggest things involved with was taking care of paperwork, taking care of the books, learning everything there is to know about being able to go into a business, no matter what the size, and I've done some big ones, and take their books, audit them, check every fact and figure, and see if they're lying to the insurance company about how much money they're making, because the insurance premiums are based on how much, like how much of the office workers making, and how much of the people that worked in the kitchen making it, stuff like that. It's all broken down into codes. We've all got a code out there. It's ridiculous. But I did that for 18 years. And you guys know SunTrust Bank? Well, back in early 80s, I was doing an investigation at the headquarters of SunTrust in Miami, and I happened to be there to witness this limousine pull up out front, and these 5 guys get out with machine guns, and they open the trunk and they bring out these duffel bags, military duffel bags, on their shoulders. I think it was either 3 or 4 of them, and they took them straight into the bank. They didn't check in with anybody. They just went to the counting room door, knocked on it, got in. So I'm wondering now, what the fuck's going on here? Well, because of who I was and what I was doing, I had access to any part of the bank at any time I wanted to. So I waited for a few minutes, went inside there, and you guys seen the movie Scarface, where, the guys builds up this big drug empire and all that? Well, that shit was for real. That ain't no lie. Stuff that guy did. Because when I went into that counting room, they were dumping those duffel bags on the floor, and all they were hundreds, 50s, and 20s. And there was like $1.5 million, $2 million in these duffel bags. And they were doing that every day. So I reported it to my company because they were not showing those deposits in the bank. And because of that, if they would have got robbed, they would have claimed, oh, we had $50 million in here, when they only actually legally had like maybe 20 or 30 million, and the rest was drug money they were laundering. Well, I helped bust them. Sun Trust Bank used to be just Sun Bank. And the feds bust them, and they changed the name to Sun Trust Bank, and that's why it happened, because of drug money and laundering. So I've been involved in all kinds of shit in my life. I grew up in Detroit on the streets when I was between the ages of 12 and 14, I think it was, when I went to prep school. But, I ran with the gangsters.
Y'all know who Sada Baby is, right? Mm-hmm. He run with his daddy in the street in Detroit, bro. I used to talk that nigga on the phone, Sada Baby. Yeah, bro.
So, I know about the streets. I was doing the streets before you guys were gleaming your grandpa's eye, let alone your mom and daddy. I mean, I'm old dude. I'm 72 years old. The body's fucked up, but that can be fixed. But my mind is still there, and I still know about the facts. I was trained in New York by a Jewish entertainment attorney that worked for Atlantic Records. He showed me about how to look at contracts, how to see where they were trying to screw you, because every one of them tries to screw you. I'm telling you right now, there ain't a motherfucker out there that's in this business that ain't in one way or another trying to fuck you. Okay? And that's our job. We watch those go down. If you guys go on the road and you're making money, either me or Steve or one of those older people that know what the fuck's going on with the music business will be there. And, if I'm there or he's there, he's gonna do what I do. I walk in the motherfucking office, and if you guys are supposed to be getting $10,000 for the night, I open my briefcase, turn it around and say, 10 G's in this case before they even walk on stage. They're here, you've seen them. If the motherfucker won't give me the money, out the door, because he's trying to rip. He's gonna rip and run is what he's gonna do. And there's a lot of promoters, booking agents that will get you in a situation where if they can put you off and delay you, they will get all the money from the show and disappear before you even get a chance to come looking for it. And I know a lot of scoundrels out there, and I know a lot of the places where scoundrels work at. And I won't put up. I mean, shit, I killed people for 20 years. Don't. I might be in a wheelchair, I might be an old man, but I'll tell you what, I can still use a fucking bitter, and I can still use a knife, and I would do it if I had to. I'm fucking old, what do I care? Take me out. It ain't gonna hurt me. So, I'm gonna have your backs. Now I know all you guys probably got people that are doing things like that for you in the background. The thing you gotta understand is, if you're gonna come on board with us, then you got to follow the plan that we will lay out for you. There's going to be some shit in there that you like a lot. There's going to be a couple things maybe that you don't like so much. But that's part of the deal. If you follow what you're told, and I don't mean like I'm a prick or anything like that. I mean, you can always talk to me about anything. That's the other thing. Anytime you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. And I mean about anything. It ain't going no farther than you and me. I've kept my mouth shut for what, 45 years? About who I used to work for and what I used to do. So, I mean, if I can do that,
You guys know you're not supposed to be in here, right?
I was trying to talk to your manager. She ain't.
Multiple managers have